data center train is entering Africa full speed with new builds and heavy investment all across the continent. Stephane Duproz, CEO of Africa Data Centers, talks to me now on how the market is shaping up to be one of the largest investment trends in the coming years. Stephane, thanks a lot for talking to me. How would you sort of describe and even compare the African data center markets to, let's say, 5 or 2 years ago?
5 and even 2 years ago, everybody was, it's that magic moment where everybody is saying it's going to happen. There will be some heavy trends starting to arrive in data centers in Africa. And people have been waiting and waiting and waiting, and it's happening now. It's very violent, almost violent. The demand is very, very, very important. So it's really happening. It has started obviously with all the hyperscale and the cloud provider. The cloud is the main driver, but we are also seeing, and that's also something new, we are also seeing an important wave of take-up in our data centers all over Africa, coming from the local enterprise.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask about the enterprises. Do you get a lot of demand from hyperscale or more enterprises? How are you seeing these two sort of grow?
I think it's going to be different per data center provider. Africa Data Center really wants, as a key part of its positioning and of its story, to have that ecosystem where hyperscale providers will find local enterprise to be their customers. And local enterprise will find in our data centers easy, low latency access to the capacity of the cloud providers. And that's where we, Africa Data Center, want to have both. And what we are seeing now really is very important take-ups. I mean, in megawatts and 2-digit kind of megawatts coming from the hyperscale. And we already have in South Africa, we have over 3,000 enterprise customers already and connected low latency to those cloud providers.
Okay, but you are sort of prone to a lot of competition that's going to come into the continent in the next few years. So we had Data Cloud Monaco this year, and one of the main trends that we sort of picked up here while interviewing our executives is the larger colocation providers that are really looking into moving into Africa now. We're talking about the Equinixes and the Digital Realties of the world. How do you see sort of the competition space shifting around? How dangerous would that be?
They have difficulties doing it. They now have understood, they need growth. And growth is currently happening in Europe, is currently a little bit slowing down in America. And very clearly, Africa is a huge growth area. Now, it's not easy for them to justify to their boards and to their shareholders entering into markets they're not really aware, they have no experience on. So they could be interested in getting stakes in existing operators, or potentially buying extremely well-implemented actors. And typically Berkshire has recently acquired Terraco in South Africa. But then what's next? And what happens at the moment in Africa is that you do have, country per country, some existing actors. But I haven't yet seen a vision of a Pan-African network of carrier-neutral data centers. And that's exactly what we are the only one to do, and are already now the largest actor on that specific positioning, which in my view is obviously the future, as we are able to propose to any international customer coming over, in all the countries where we are present, the same design, the same procedures, the same contract, so that they can actually work on their growth and their development on the continent in a secured, visible, scalable way.
Okay, and I'll touch your portfolio in a second, but in terms of investors, for example, what's sort of the appetite out there for Africa?
It's very, very important. Because typically in Europe, in the US, or now even in Asia-Pac, the jump you can make between seed funding and an exit at a very, very high multiple has been made. Now any investor getting into data centers, the capacity for having some return on the investment is mainly on growth, not on that jump in valuation. That's currently only happening in Africa. So we are, every week I have a new request for investors to come over.
Okay, and then you've already mentioned sort of companies that could be acquired across Africa, and there's not a pan-European one, which then makes you quite an attractive asset to be bought. Could you be one of those that will be acquired by one of the larger ones?
For the moment, that is not what we want to do. I am seeing country per country, but again, they're isolated, so the attractiveness is a little bit less. I am seeing data center operators whose strategy is to be acquired.
Okay.
We are not like that. We don't have a short-term strategy. It's not a financial effort we are making here. We want to digitalize Africa. We have a long-term industrial project to interconnect data centers all over the continent. You never know, of course.
Yeah.
But our strategy is long-term, Pan-African, and it's not to be acquired soon.
Okay, but you have data centers in 5 countries. You've got Zimbabwe, South Africa, Rwanda, Kenya, and I'm missing one.
That's 4 countries and 5 data centers because we have 2 in South Africa.
Yes, yeah. What other countries do you want to expand to? What's the expansion plan for other countries?
Well, beyond Cape Town, Johannesburg, Nairobi, Harare, and Kigali, we Africa data centers obviously look at the trends.
Yeah.
Where we look at 2 different ways. We first look at serving our customers in important countries. So we are currently busy putting a network of data centers in the 5 leading countries in Africa. And those 5 are South Africa, Kenya, Egypt, Nigeria, and Morocco.
Okay.
So we are strongly working on those 5.
Okay.
And those 5 will then become hubs for us to develop around those hubs a sub-network of edge data centers in second-tier countries.
So your portfolio is going to pretty much cover everything. So the larger data centers and the edge data centers.
So typically from the hub in South Africa, we are considering. We already have Zimbabwe, but we are also considering Mozambique, Botswana, Zambia.
Okay.
From the hub in Nairobi, we are currently working in Kigali, Rwanda, as I said, but we are also looking at other countries around that, like Uganda. From the hub in Egypt that we are going to have soon, we are also looking at Sudan, and from Nigeria, all over the region.
Well, you've got 54 countries to go through. But in terms of capital expansion and time frame, is there anything you can share with us? How much money is going to be invested? When you expect it to be invested?
It's obviously in hundreds of million dollars.
Okay. Does it reach the $1 billion or?
There are several dimensions of the plan.
Okay, yeah.
Of course, I have prepared and we have prepared the plan, over several years. That yes is reaching the billion, but in the visible future, in what we are going to put now, it's several hundreds.
Okay. And where sort of are the investors from? Is it North America, Europe, Asia, a bit from everywhere?
Well, first we already have our shareholders, and those shareholders are shareholders also of Liquid Telecom.
Okay.
And they can bring capital into the story. But if we were letting somebody get in our shareholding structure today, it would be, again, somebody who will be in that industrial development project, will bring something to the story. I would really prefer to have that kind of person, of company, getting in that pure financial investment.
Yeah.
But as I said, every week I have somebody calling me to say, can I lend you money?
Okay, well, that's a good call to have every week.
Yeah. Well, but the story is so obvious that people understand.
The demand is palpable. So.
And we also have financing coming locally, which is one of my pride. Because we have to remember, I'm African. I was born in Africa, raised in Africa, and we are African. And we don't simply, we do a business. I love doing business. I've developed data center over the last 20 years and created value there. But we also want to create value for the people around us. The project beyond the simple business is also to digitalize Africa and help African people having a better life.
Okay. And then as I said, we are Data Cloud as well. What does this conference mean to your business, for example? Do you get a lot of investors here that are talking to you? Do you get a lot of interest in the business?
We have a lot. And as you said, investors coming to me again. So obviously now it's a little bit more than 1 a week as they are all here. But also from international customers. We are talking to all the hyperscalers, all the major pure players of the internet, a lot of telcos, and we are career neutral. And they're all there. It's no surprise that Data Cloud Europe has become, for me, the largest global event in data centers. So they are starting showing their interest into Africa. And I've had 2 very, very busy days, to be honest.
Okay, well, it'll be interesting to see what comes out of it. Just a very quick question. Would you get into the fiber optic game as well, or are you just going to focus on data centers?
We have a major shareholder who is the lead, it's called Liquid Telecom,
Yeah.
who at that company has the largest fiber optic network on the continent.
Okay.
So we will not do that. We will just buy from them.
Yeah.
I repeat, we will be carrier neutral. So any other carrier wanting to interconnect our data center will be able to do it. But every data center we are going to open will already be connected to all the other ones through that network.
All right, Stephane, thanks a lot for talking to me. Don't forget you can follow Data Economy on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram, and also visit the website on www.data-economy.com.